All right, what's up, guys? In my last video, I talked about dynamic effort work, and I felt like it was a good idea to share an experiment that I ran during my last prep for my last strongman show. A couple summers ago, I used to train in a CrossFit style fashion, mainly just doing like different EMOMs, AMRAPs, rounds for time, things of that nature. And I was in really good shape. And a big philosophy of mine when it comes to strongman is, not being under conditioned for the demands of the sport. I never want to be someone who's too out of shape and can't, complete the events due to my level of conditioning. And so I wanted to try some different things this last prep. And one of those things was turning my dynamic effort upper work into a circuit style fashion. I wanted to incorporate an upper back movement as well as a medicine ball slam just to spike the heart rate and force myself to continue to try to put as much force into the bar as humanly possible while under fatigue. You're never, even in powerlifting, but strongman especially, after that first event, you're not going to be fresh for any of the following events, even if you are in extremely good shape. The events are going to take its toll on you. They're going to have their fatigue, and it's going to accumulate, throughout the day. And so I just take a really strong approach to my conditioning and my training. And this is just a way that I felt like would be a good idea to try and attack it. So as you can see above, I ran 3 different waves of dynamic effort work. They were ran in 3 weeks. I will talk about how I progressed that here shortly. But in the first week, we just had a standing fat bar shoulder press against bands, single arm kettlebell snatches, and then some medicine ball slams. And then week 2, we just rotate the type of pressing that we did. So it was just a floor press with a football bar. I had chains on that. And then in week 3, and then week 2 had obviously the pull-ups, as you can see, instead of the kettlebell snatches. And then in the third wave, we did a football bar Z press with a dumbbell high pull. The medicine ball slams for the first 6 weeks, they would just get rotated between traditional slams and rotational slams each week. So if week 1 was traditional slams, week 2 would be rotational slams, and then that would just flip-flop for the first 6 weeks. The last 3 weeks, I implemented a contrast method where I would then take a heavier medicine ball that weighed 25 pounds and then just do a traditional slam with that, and then immediately pick up a 5-pound medicine ball and do a slam with that. And essentially all I was trying to do was just create that much more force with the 5-pound medicine ball after, picking up the heavier medicine ball. And then taking that force applied and trying to, put that force into the barbell for my pressing. I felt like this did a really good job of preparing my upper body, especially my shoulders and my upper back for my last event. Every single time I ran through this, it had me out of breath, had me pretty gassed, and it definitely got harder and harder as the rounds went on, and especially as the weeks went on during the wave. I usually would just do between 5 and 6 rounds. It kind of varied each wave. And basically the goal was to progress the weight on the press each week, whether that was like 5 or 10 pounds. So the band tension would stay the same or the chains would stay the same. We're just adding, a 5 or a 10 per side each week. And then for the kettlebell snatch, we just increased the reps each week. So if it was 5 rounds, it would just be 5 rounds of 6 reps each side. And then second week would be 8, and then third week would be 10. And then the pull-ups just stayed the same all 3 weeks. Rep-wise, we just did 5s, but we changed the grip each week. So whether it was a wide grip pull-up, a chin-up, or a neutral grip pull-up, the grip got varied each week. And then for the high pull, the goal is to keep the reps the same, so 8s for all 3 weeks, and then increasing the weight, really trying to push the weight in that third week of the wave. So here's an insight just to what the circuit looks like. This was a test week before I began, my 3-week waves. Here I did double kettlebell snatches, but I ended up going with the single arm just because I kind of like how they feel a little bit better. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So essentially just moving from one movement to the other as fast as you can. Trying to complete the rounds as fast as possible, but while keeping, form and the quality of your movements intact. That's the last thing that I wanted to have happen, was to have my movements compromised due to fatigue. But like I said, that is why I was running these in the first place, was to be able to perform pressing and especially working on the rate of force development with my pressing while under fatigue. like I said, I felt this was immensely beneficial. And I definitely think that this is something I will be revisiting in the future. And definitely, even if you're not a strongman or a competitor, I think that you can get a lot of value out of training in this capacity. You can do things like this with squats and deadlifts, incorporating jumps, kettlebell swings, things of that nature, right? But I think this is a really good way to, train under fatigue, spike the heart rate up, challenge the muscles, and challenge yourself in a different way. And I highly encourage you guys to give it a try.